Hello. In this week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, God makes a prediction to Abraham. Quote, "Know for certain that your offspring will be strangers in a strange land, and will be enslaved and afflicted for 400 years. But know with equal certainty that I will judge the nation that enslaved them, and that afterwards they will leave with great substance." Unquote. Sure enough, Abraham's grandson Jacob and his clan of 70, all the Jews of the time, went to Egypt to escape a famine invited by Pharaoh through Jacob's son Joseph. But the next Pharaoh enslaved them for 210 years. They had done nothing to deserve this. This is strange. God frequently punishes people in the Tanakh for something they did wrong. There was the expulsion from the Garden of Eden for eating the forbidden fruit, the flood in Noah's day for great wickedness, corruption, and evil, the multiplicity of languages on earth for the Tower of Babel, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah for wickedness and sin, turning Lot's wife into a pillar of salt for looking back, the earth swallowing up Korach and his followers for rebellion against Moses, exile and destruction of the first temple for idolatry, adultery, and murder, etc. But here's one calamity God sent us without us doing anything wrong: slavery in Egypt. The Haggadah says we must be thankful to God for rescuing us from Egypt. But should we not be angry with God for allowing us to get enslaved in the first place for apparently no reason? Evidently, God thought slavery was necessary. But why? And why for so long? Let us explore some possible answers. First, we were enslaved for our protection. In the land of Israel, Jacob's clan was an easy target for its neighbors. In Egypt, a superpower protected us, albeit to exploit us. Second, slavery allowed us to build up our numbers in safety. If 210 years equal 10 generations, and if numbers double with each generation, assuming 4 children per couple, the original number will be multiplied 1,000 folds. 2 to the 10 is 1,024. To get to the 3 million people the Talmud speculates were at Sinai for the giving of the Torah, including women and children, we have to assume 6 children per couple, which is not unreasonable for the time. Third, slavery allowed us to build up our identity and community spirit. We were all in the same boat and followed the same customs. The Midrash says that the Jews deserved redemption from Egypt because they kept their distinct names, dress, and language. Fourth, slavery minimized contact with the outside world. Such contacts might have led to idolatry and other practices later forbidden by the Torah. Fifth, slavery eliminated the possibility of intermarriage. Egyptians wouldn't want to marry slaves, and Israelite women raped by Egyptians would raise their children as Israelites. Sixth, slavery created a scenario that allowed God to show the Jews and the whole world, with miracles and wonders that make a big impression, who was in charge. God did so when he freed the Jews. Seventh, the gratitude we felt when we were liberated made it easier for us to accept the Torah. Indeed, the first thing God said at Sinai was, "I am the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage." A commentator said that the purpose of our suffering in Egypt was to break our attachment to this world, as suffering makes people more spiritually inclined. Eighth, the slave mentality made it easier for us to accept the Torah. Indeed, after being a slave for so many generations, the first instinctive response when given a command is to say, "Yes, sir." However, once we accepted the Torah, the slave mentality became a burden. So God waited until the generation of the Exodus died out in the desert before letting us into the Promised Land. In fact, the Maharal went so far as to say that Pesach is not the time of true freedom, but rather the time when we changed masters from Pharaoh to gods. However, it must be pointed out that the first slavery was for the benefit of the master, whereas the second was for our own benefit. So, these 8 reasons allow us to conclude that even though we did not deserve slavery in Egypt, ultimately it was all God's plan for our own good. This leads us to wonder, is all suffering for some greater goods that we usually don't understand? A rabbi in the Talmud used to say, no matter what terrible things happen to him, Gam zu letova, this too is for the goods. We'll leave this question open for now. Shabbat Shalom.